flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
We play again in Chicago, but hopefully it gets our attention about being able to compete on the ball, being able to get back guarding. I mean, we've been scoring the ball so easily. Tonight we didn't get our bench production that we had been getting, we fouled. We didn't get to the free throw line. We didn't get a lot of things that we normally been generating. So, our defense was under that much more pressure.
I love Finch, man. He always looks kind of disheveled. Even if they've won 5 games in a row, he always looks like he's in need of like a gallon of coffee or something.
Sitcom dad. He's a sitcom dad. Mm-hmm. Hey, it's Finchy. Finchy's home. Kids, I'm tired today. A long day at coaching basketball.
We need like a laugh track or something in the background when he's giving these press.
Leave it to Finchy.
Leave it to Finchy.
Leave it to Finchy.
The Finchersons.
Mr. Finch, Mr. Finch, can you come out and play? No, kid, I'm way too tired. Long day.
Wasn't there a Mr. Finch? There's a Mr. Feeney in Boy Meets World.
I was gonna say Mr. Feeney. Yeah.
Mr. Finch.
I don't think there was a Mr. There was a Mr. French in Family Affair in the 70s.
Oh, that's before my time.
But you might have heard of Mr. French just in passing. I don't think there was a Mr. Finch.
No.
But a good sitcom dad.
I'm going to Google real quick here. Mr. Finch.
A great sitcom dad. Chris Finch. Disheveled, beleaguered.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong on this one. Anyways, this is Mackie and Judd, daily Minnesota sports and pop culture, quite frankly, entertainment and speculation, therapy. And every Friday, we compile all of your questions, comments, concerns, critiques about the show, about Minnesota sports, whatever else. We call it Feedback Friday here on Mackie and Judd. And we'll get to on Purple Daily today. We're gonna also get to 4-Question Friday, and for Saturday we're gonna get to the Read the Comments edition. So it's all about your feedback here the next couple days on SKOR North. A lot of Timberwolves stuff here. Let's start with this one from Tony Johnson on Twitter. I'm okay with the Wolves standing pat, but imagine if the Knicks were a fringe playoff or play-in team and they stood pat while the teams around them worked to improve. Next year is never guaranteed. I'm worried we've gotten a little happy to be here syndrome. And Sam Nord via Twitter says, SKOR North says they want titles, but when a team stands pat with a slightly above average roster, they agree with the move.
You know what? Those are spot on correct points. Like I've given this thought. Both of what those people said are 100%. You're right. But, and here's my but, it's the Timberwolves. And I believe that they are developing something. Do I believe so? I want titles, but I want them done when you realistically have a chance to go get a title. It's like I do not think that the 2022 Vikings have a shot at a title. I want them to get one, but what I don't want them to do is try to run things back while trying to serve 2024, right? And so I think part of our statement on this show has to go to, we want titles, but we want to pursue titles realistically. And I don't believe that the Timberwolves had like one trade in their back pocket that were going to get them on a deep playoff run. Conversely, I think the Wild does. So like I want them to go in, but I don't want titles by just saying I'd really like titles and it'd be fun.
Yep.
The Timberwolves just aren't there yet, but both of those points are very valid points.
Yeah, I would say I like the way that you've sort of, because there's some gray area here. In general, yes, this is valid. We should be holding our teams to a high standard. Was there a move to be made and Gupta got gun shy? I don't know ultimately what prevented the Wolves from at least grabbing a depth piece or somebody over the height of 6'7" to grab a rebound and block a shot. Like they're one of the smallest teams in the NBA. But if you remember back 5 years ago when the Timberwolves had a great young nucleus, well, they had a great duo and then Andrew Wiggins, and those guys were young. They had Karl Anthony Towns, Zach LaVine, and we're seeing what he's doing now in Chicago, one of the best teams in the East, and Andrew Wiggins, and a couple other young pieces. And Tom Thibodeau came in. And so the Wolves were on this, we're going to grow, we're going to the NBA, it's rarely about a big leap. Like once in a while, you might see Phoenix go from out of the playoffs to, NBA Finals. But the NBA is all about steps. It's about making the playoffs for the first time, and then take your lumps, and then win a playoff series. Like you have to go in certain phases. Sure. And before the Timberwolves even took the first step, Tom Thibodeau came in and said, I'm not going to sit around for this. I'm not going to develop the young nucleus. I'm going to blow up the young nucleus by trading Zach LaVine and bring Jimmy Butler in here for a quick fix. And the quick fix got the Wolves to the playoffs, maybe quicker than they otherwise would have been. Like they won more games with Jimmy Butler immediately than they would have if Zach LaVine was still there. But their ceiling was capped, because Jimmy Butler wasn't sticking around long term to ride out like a 5-year window with Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. Personalities clashing, the ages didn't mesh right. Also, the Golden State Warriors were still in the middle of a dynasty in the Western Conference. There was other great teams, the Clippers, the Lakers, reemerged with LeBron. So the better move in retrospect would have been, instead of the quick sugar high, let's just get as good as we can and then hit a glass ceiling. What could that nucleus have looked like with the right coaching? Zach LaVine stays, right? Maybe you move Andrew Wiggins at some point. Maybe you still make the move for D'Angelo Russell. So I'm all about, at this point, keeping the nucleus intact. I'm really curious to see what 3 dudes in their early to mid-20s with the right roster and coaching around them, how they can grow over the next 2 or 3 years. I still want a championship, but I'm not interested in cutting off like the potential of a 2024 peak in favor of getting an extra boost in the Western Conference standings this year. They can't win a championship this year. This might sound crazy. They could flirt with like a Western Conference run in a year or 2 if they do the right things.
And at the deadline at that time, it might require a trade.
Yes.
So I'm not I'm not on board with trades and then say no. What I am is I firmly believe in pouncing on opportunity. Which also means not making a dumb move to make a move just because. But to go back to, I think we talked about this, or I talked about this on Purple Access with Chip on Thursday. In retrospect, and we all talked about this at the time. In 2019, the Vikings should have gone all in. They should have said, what is it going to take? And by the way, it's going to hurt. What is it going to take to get Jalen Ramsey? We talked about that at the time. Because once you got Kirk, you're all in. So go all in. The Wolves aren't there yet, which is fine. And Phil, I agree completely. I think that this is a case where you are trying to build something, and that the time will come at the deadline probably to make a big move. I did not feel like this year was it.
Yeah. Let's see here. Another question here. This is actually a tweet that I saw gaining traction yesterday from Timberwolves blogger Jack Borman. Jarrett Culver, this is in response to John Hollinger wrote an article about buyout candidates that could be out there. And just the list of guys that could get cut or, bought out from their contracts and then go sign somewhere else. And he scrolled down to the bottom of the list and saw Jarrett Culver, who Hollinger says needs to play more minutes to get any career traction at some point. And Juancho Hernan-Gomez, who Hollinger suspects could opt for Spain over the NBA due to lack of opportunities. It's impossible to overstate how insane of a coup that Pat Bev trade was for the Wolves. Think about that. So Jarrett Culver, and now Memphis is one of the best teams in the Western Conference. I don't know. I'd have to take a deeper dive, but what would they look like if they had Pat Bev on that team? Would it not mesh as well? But Jarrett Culver is not really playing. He's playing like 9 minutes a night for Memphis. He's not doing anything. And then Juancho, who's been on the Spurs and the Celtics this year, and now apparently he's going to go play in Spain. He's playing 6 minutes a night. So 2 complete throwaway pieces for Pat Beverley, who's been hurt a lot, but just his presence on and off the court has helped change, I think, the foundation and the personality of this team. It's one of the biggest. Usually the Wolves are the ones that are just misstepping in the draft and in trades, right? Getting nothing for KG.
Right.
But this was one of the biggest heists in Timberwolves trade history.
The trade is terrible from Memphis's perspective because of what the Wolves have gotten, both when he's playing on the court and probably, as you just said, more importantly, off of it. I guess my question is this. Pat Bev, I think, is the type of player who is an acquired taste. And if he's put in the right situation, which he clearly is here, is fantastic. So yes, the trade is great. I also think that the situation that he got to is perfect. So, like, if he's with the Grizz and the Grizz are good, is he playing as much? Is he as necessary of component? So there's no question that the trade was a complete heist. I do think that it's not, but it's not like you got this great player and he's just unbelievable. He does so many things for your team. Like, he is the perfect fit at the perfect time for the Wolves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. I'm kind of shocked. At first, I was like, "Wait a sec, I feel like this is a heist." Really, Hernan Gomez and Jarrett Culver for this pesky, amazing
moves around this league. It's unbelievable,
and he'll be moving around internationally.
What's up,
and I feel like the funny thing about this trade is, like, yeah, it's a heist, and it was for two basically bums. I'm gonna call them both of them bums, and Jarrett Culver and Juancho Hernan Gomez, and you got Pat Bev. And the result has worked out swimmingly. It's been a great trade. But I also feel like in Minnesota sports, we're always looking to make trades like this. Like, we're always trying to figure out, what if we just gave away this garbage and we turned it into pristine results? And this is one of the few instances where, like, it worked. Oh my God, the other team, it hit. The problem is most times these trade offers, they don't really ever come to this fruition. But in Minnesota sports, we're always looking to heist someone to give away our garbage so we can get someone in return.
This is
it's hilarious.
This is the fantasy trade that you just kind of float, hoping that some idiot will get drunk and say yes at 10:30 on a Saturday night. I guess let's see if Memphis will bite on this. All right, who are the two worst players on the roster? Let's just float a couple guys and see if they click yes. And
Jarrett Culver is just a bad basketball player too.
It's tough when you can't shoot in today's NBA. If you can't shoot,
how are
you
you
better be able to do a lot
drafted
of other
sixth
things.
then?
Well, I mean, my God, the Wolves, they drafted Chris Dunn in the top 10. Can't shoot.
That was
they
Tibbs.
drafted
Yeah,
Jarrett Culver.
Don't forget, Chris Dunn played defense, right? I love defense.
And he was 22 and not 18. He was a 4-year starter at Providence.
It's like Tibbs. There are players who play defense and can also shoot. It's there are players out there. Troy Krauth here via the SKOR North app says, "I've loved your recent Timberwolves discussions. It's wild to be having meaningful Wolves convos in February. One piece I think you guys have missed so far is the importance of having success this season for Cat's free agency clock. He'll have 2 years left starting next year, and the Wolves need to have success in that window. It may not feel great, but making a move to win this season could be crucial in keeping Cat long term. Love your shows from a longtime listener and first-time feedbacker." Yeah, I would say this kind of solves itself, because if you don't make the playoffs this year, which, by the way, they will, they're going to make the play-in for sure. We'll see if they can make the actual playoffs. But if you don't take that step this year and then another step next year, then I don't know how desperate you're going to be to hang on to Cat. Because then it would mean that the foundation of your team, which Cat is a huge part of, is not good enough to take you to a certain place, even like to the 5th or the 4th seed in the Western Conference. So I'm not super worried about. I think if this team wins, I think Cat loves playing here. I don't think he's a guy that's like, his personality doesn't strike me as, I need to go dominate a bigger market.
And yeah, the stability here now, I think, is huge. Like the one thing why I thought a guy like Cat would want out is this place had, for how long, 0 stability. Tibbs, none.
Yeah.
And right now with our guy Finchie, they've got that. They've got stability. They've got good players. I really hope that the Wolves make the playoffs. And here's why. Cat's had a really good year. Like, I think he's had probably the most complete year that Cat has had.
Yeah.
All of that being said, here's what I want to see. I want to see Cat this time around in a playoff, because Karl Anthony Towns will be, how can I put this nicely, messed with by the opposing team, because they know that he will get upset, that he will complain incessantly. And I think, like all sports, the playoffs in this league become a different thing. They become far more intense. They become, officials probably change things, right? And what I want to see from Carl this time is what we didn't see when he got the brief chance in the 5-game loss to the Rockets in Tibbs' year, which was he melted down. Like, he melted down. Where's the mental toughness now? Because if we get complaining cat, you got a problem. Like eventually you're going to have a problem. The one thing is, and I hope that they make the playoffs, and Pat Bev potentially should have a big impact on this, but you're going to have to put the moaning and groaning crap away, and you're going to have to accept the fact that you're going to get beat up, and you got to beat them up back, and that's just how the playoffs work.
I think he's done a good job of that the last couple months in the regular season. Not all the time. He'll still spend a couple extra seconds complaining, but I think he's done a really good job channeling his energy and his emotions into the actual game. And I think he's become a better defender. But to your point, in a 7-game series, there's so many instances where a pesky role player will, game 3, game 4, will get under the skin of a star player, right? Like, Pat Bev has made a living doing this in playoff series. Remember, 15 years ago, 17 years ago, whatever it was, when the KG Timberwolves were playing the Denver Nuggets in whatever it was, the first round of the playoffs, and Francisco Elson got under the skin of Kevin Garnett after a few games. Like, you see the same people, you're battling, in the paint, and you get more annoyed by the team that you're playing, and they start to figure out your tendencies. And so, yes, your mental toughness needs to go to a different level for sure. And I think KG punched Francisco Elson in the groin, if I remember right.
That's correct. Incredible. Okay. I don't remember that.
Good pull on the name, Phil.
Yeah. The funny thing, too, about these windows, both with the Wolves and the Wild, is so on the Wolves side, they're worried, well, in the next 2 years, like, what if we can't offer Cat a contract? And then with the Wild, it was, well, with Kirill, we can't give him 8 years, so we can only give him 5 years. And we could lose out on this potential long-term window. I think it's so misguided to assume that in 5 years we're still competing for championships when you know what you're having right now. And with the Wild and the Wolves, I think there is pressure to figure out, is this nucleus going to work? Like, and if it doesn't work now, it's not going to work 5 years from now. Like, don't get too worried about 5 years from now when you know this team is winning right now, and you have to figure out if this team can work. And with Kirill and Cat and the Wolves and Wild fans, you have to be all in, I think, right now, and not being worried about. And this is even a deeper layered conversation with Twins fans from the last 12 years. Don't be worried about your prospect pool 4 years from now. If the team is winning now, go for it. Go all in.
And the thing about the Wolves is, wherever they are now, imagine what they could be in 2 years from now as they continue to tweak the peripheral pieces, but also as Anthony Edwards, who is this 6'6", gigantic, athletic human being, and he's showing you some of his potential. What's that dude going to look like in 2 years? And so that, to go back to the first question, like, that's why I'm not all worked up that they didn't make a trade. Like, most of their improvement is going to come from within the next couple of years.
And to Declan's point, it doesn't take a genius to see when the opportunity exists. Like the Wolves, it's not there yet. Wild, it's there. The Twins, 2019, it was there. So like identifying the time to dive into the deep end of the pool really shouldn't be that difficult.
Yeah. More Timberwolves feedback here in a second, but hey, the St. Thomas men's basketball team, speaking of hoops, now Division I, taking on North Dakota State in a Summit League matchup this Saturday on SKOR North Radio. That's AM 1500 in the Twin Cities. The Tommies continue to battle in their first year in D1. If you like ball movement and three-pointers and drives to the hoop, St. Thomas plays a fun brand of college basketball. TommySports.com to buy your tickets for Saturday against NDSU. TommySports.com. Also, a shout-out to our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company. I know they're partners with the Timberwolves as well. Federated is a great resource for business owners. We're talking about risk management webinars, the MyShield platform, legal resources, safety walkthroughs, and a dedicated marketing rep that can help you with any issues that your business may face. They are a great guiding hand to help take your business to the next level, much like the Timberwolves, looking to take them to the next level in the next 2 or 3 years. Federated is here to help your business, federatedinsurance.com. And remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours. Thomas Gorski via Twitter says, hard to imagine Gupta has done enough to keep the job full-time running this Wolves front office. Gerson Rosas built this team, not Gupta. What exactly is he doing besides collecting a paycheck every week? That's kind of harsh. The team will be one and done. New ownership will likely target Elton Brand or a splashy name to replace him. And then User Dude on Twitter follows up and says, I have to agree with this. The job feels too big for Gupta. Part of me also wonders if Glenn Taylor is rejecting all of his ideas. First of all, he got the job after all of the offseason moves were made. Like, when he got the job, it wasn't like there was a draft ahead of him. So the trade deadline was really the only chance since he took the job to do something publicly splashy. But I wouldn't discredit behind-the-scenes work and scouting. I mean, as a general manager or a POBO, not only are you overseeing acquisitions and transactions of players in the draft, but you're overseeing internal processes, scouting, communication, other things that lead to maximizing your roster. And those are the things that aren't quite as sexy. I don't have a full review on how well he's doing those things, but I think it's too early just to say because he didn't make a trade that he's unqualified or unfit for the job. I just don't think we know yet.
It's also the Wolves. Unfortunately, as long as Glenn's there, the Wolves are going to hang on to being the Wolves at times. I think what this is Gerson got fired. I'm sure he has to be paid something. I don't know if it's going to officially be for cause or not, but I don't think that you can say you're done here and then not pay him a thing. Gupta hasn't got the POBO title, which leads me to believe that he is there to sort of mind the shop on, shockingly, with Glenn the cheap. I fully expect, and the weird transition from Glenn to Mark and A-Rod makes this a little bit more uncertain. I fully expect that when the transition, I think Doogie said December of 23 is made, that we will see major changes. Like Gupta, I'd be surprised if Gupta is let go before then, because I'm sure Glenn's like, oh, this is great. He's doing a fine job and he's working for $12. So my guess is both from a basketball operation standpoint and probably from a business ops standpoint, that when the official transition of majority ownership of the Wolves takes place, they'll make changes, and hopefully Mark and A-Rod decide that cutting checks is not the worst thing in the world.
I don't think that's yeah. I mean, Glenn's a small town guy. It's weird because he's a billionaire who's a small town guy. He literally lives in Mankato. Yeah. And he has a home in Naples too. Unless he's recently moved from Mankato, but like he literally drives up, or has a driver drive him up.
A huge place in Mankato. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of Mark Lowry, by the way, I tweeted this out this morning. So I stumbled upon this YouTube video. Mark Lowry and a YouTuber switched lives for a day. If you want to go watch this, it's Brett Conti, Conti is the YouTube host. But at one point, so he's just like hanging out in Mark Lowry's house. He got Mark Lowry to go to his office where he has like 500,000 subscribers and he's a professional YouTuber. And there's one scene where the phone rings and Brett Conti answers it, and it's A-Rod looking to FaceTime with Lowry, and this random dude answers the phone, and A-Rod's like, "What's going on?"
That's
goes, I don't know if I can talk to you. Like, I don't know if I can share things with you. He's like, I'm Mark Lowry for a day. So like, Lowry's hilarious. He's like skateboarding around New York City, playing ping pong with these young dudes in the office and stuff.
Awesome.
Glenn Taylor wears sweaters. And,
I was going to say Glenn
eats potato salad. Which
and
I love
loves to sit court and loves being courtside in those Target Center seats in the redone Target Center.
He can still keep the courtside seats. I don't care. Got to pay for them. Ryan Mantufel via the SKOR North app says, when did sports dad become sports granddad? When the Winter Olympics come on. Between snowboard dope stereotypes, ESPN's wide world of sports references from the 70s and 80s, watching Olympic hockey after ranting that the NHL should remove their players, that's an amazing hypocritical call out.
That's true.
And a story about those damn kids at the X Games. Judd's hoodie grew 3 sizes on Wednesday. Love you guys.
This.
Keep killing the podcast game.
I love that note. No
you have
debate.
become cantankerous and hypocritical.
When it comes to the Olympiad, I think I've been cantankerous for years now. But I love that note. All spot on.
why do you if you hate the Olympics and you hate everything that the Olympic hockey tournament sort of does to the NHL,
Yeah.
why are you still so committed to this sort of B-level tournament that they're
Because
doing?
I love the sport. I love the sport. And by the way, I don't hate hockey in the Olympics. I hate the National Hockey League shutting down its season, which is just stupid. You're a major professional sports league and we're going to shut down. I also, since you broached this, am really against this whole thing of I play for my soccer team, my professional team, and I get paid, but my little country is playing on Saturday, and so I got to fly across the world to play for my little country. Dude, you're paid by the soccer team. Like, I don't care who the soccer team is. When the MLS loses players, we're going to lose 4 players for our huge game on Saturday because they got to fly halfway across the world to play for their country. Okay, I got news for you. Screw your country. They don't pay you. I hate going. I have no problem with international competition, but I hate it when it interferes with your paying job.
But it's not really interfering. Like they're still going to play the games,
right? But
you're getting more hockey.
But then they're not as good. Well, no, this is fine. But what I'm saying is, I don't want Kirill Kaprizov gone from one. He could get hurt, which we've seen, which would be stupid. Like, if he gets hurt playing for the Wild, that's an unfortunate consequence. But if he gets hurt playing for the, wait for it, Russian Olympic Committee, what's the point? That's like stupid.
Well, if you want to say what's the point, you could go down a much deeper wormhole here. What's the point of anything? What's the point of professional sports? What's the point of what we do every day?
We're
all just specks of dust.
Here's the point. The point is professional.
I mean, there is no point. It's great.
You are paid. You are making your living, which is important. Food on the table from one team. You owe it.
There's other ways to make a living.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to dissolve the sport, I'm saying, what's the point from a sports standpoint, not from a life standpoint?
Some would say winning an Olympic gold medal is more meaningful than other things in sports. Well, you don't agree with that.
Well, but the problem is you're not being paid by them. You're being paid by your team. If you play pro bono, then go knock yourself out. Leave. Like if Kirill says, you know what, $0 for me. Okay. I am just going to play for the Wild for love of the game. Then you go join the ROC team anytime that you want.
Judd watching hockey at the Olympics, even though he despised the Olympics, is that like Phil and I still tuning into the Royal Rumble, even though we despise WWE?
That's
like we're still
and then bitching about it to each other via text message after we chose to watch it.
Yeah, it's 11 p.m. on a Saturday night.
Again.
Yes.
Both are below. Who are you texting this at 11 o'clock with this much vigor? It's like you don't even know how pissed off I am right now at the WWE. It upsets me. It's the same thing.
It's amazing.
It's the same thing.
Dude, you're right. 100% right.
If I may, okay, the WWE has had 20 years to figure out how to groom new stars since Brock Lesnar and Goldberg were last, Lesnar's been relevant. And we're going to do, what are we doing? We're doing a Roman Reigns Goldberg thing. And now we're doing a Brock Lesnar thing again. It's like, can we get a young
You guys are both bugged because Vince was a genius, and now it's just a feeble, sorry ending.
The last time Vince was an actual wrestling genius was probably close to 20 years ago.
Sure, but at that time, he was the Van Gogh, right? Yeah. Like, not just good, he was a genius. Mm-hmm. And you guys are rightfully, I would be too. Again, this is why people need to step away. Like he is. I
don't know if this explains how hypocritical you are and how you want to.
But I agreed with him.
Educate our audience about the wide world of sports.
The wide world of sports.
Complain about the X Games.
The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat coming up on the wide world of sports. You get some skiing, you get some globetrotters, some soccer. Jim McKay.
Globetrotters.
Wide world of sports was fantastic, and any old person who watches us knows. And yeah, if you're not old, you don't know. YouTube it. Wide World of Sports.
It is. They are on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Pat DeRose via YouTube says Declan's always yawning at Phil and Judd's hot takes.
It's true. It's true.
You do yawn quite a bit. Why do you yawn so
a lot?
Much?
I mean, I will say in the last 2 years, I have and I still am not. I am not a morning person.
Yeah.
I'm almost 30 years old. and I still struggle
it's like 10:30
waking
right
up.
now.
Right.
I don't blame him.
But I'm now comfortable with waking up at like 7:45 every day. Comfortable. And it's still not ideal. It's not ideal. If it's a weekend, I will sleep in till 10 or 11. If I have nothing to wake up for, I will be in bed until a floor of 10 a.m. I don't get out of bed till 10.
Usually on the weekends? What time do you usually go to bed? Like fall asleep?
1 or 2.
Wow. See, I can't
1 or
do
2
that anymore. And I'll tell you, if you would have asked me like 10 or 15 years ago, especially when I used to play online poker till 2:30 in the morning to take advantage of drunk people stumbling into the cash games, there was a time in my life where if you would have said you'll do a job where you have to be up before 9 o'clock, and I would have been like, zero chance. And I am now, for the first time in my life, the last year living on the West Coast, I am a 5 a.m. alarm guy. Every day of the week.
You're
crazy. And then I
I
sleep in on the weekends, quote unquote, sleep in till about 6:30 or so.
Oh my
God.
God.
And if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I would have said, oh my God, that's torturous. I kind of love it now. Kind of love going to bed at like 9 o'clock, waking up at 5. You beat everyone up.
So you're really waking up
the day.
You're really waking up at 7 because that's
Central
time. So it's not as bad. Like if you woke up at 5 Central, you'd be an idiot. But 5 Pacific
I think
time
if I move back to the Midwest at some point, I think I am permanently part of the 5 a.m. club now.
I love it.
It's great.
I'll bet you $100 right now. If you do, you're not. I don't see you waking up at 5 a.m. Central.
I'm telling
the
you,
West Coast, I get.
It's an empowering feeling. Like, first of all, there's just something about like conquering the day before 10 a.m. If you put in 5 good hours before 10 a.m. and also like, you don't feel as guilty if you decide to go drink a cocktail at 2:30 in the afternoon. Just saying,
That's all based on Pacific stuff, though. I don't see you drinking at 2:30 Central.
Well, during the pandemic, I was drinking quite a bit.
That was different. There was a pandemic going on.
The pandemic's different.
When I filled in for Harrigan when he was on paternity leave like 5-6 years ago when I was first producing your guys' show, and I was up at 4 a.m. for like 3 straight weeks. It took me a month to get me back onto a normal sleeping schedule. I wasn't, because I have this horrible fear of when I do have to be up like earlier than normal of oversleeping. Like I will wake up 10 times throughout the night to check my phone or my alarm if it had or hadn't go off. It took me weeks to get back onto a normal schedule. I wasn't going to bed. I was napping and sleeping from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. that whole week. I can't do it.
I want to hear from the audience on this. I want you guys send us some messages. Hit us up on Twitter. Are you 5 a.m. club or are you 10 a.m. club? What's your preference?
So
I feel like I've wasted the day. If I sleep till 9:30 or 10, I'm like I literally just wasted the day.
You are operating in such a different way now, Pacific time wise. I would challenge your beliefs back home. I would challenge
my time zone beliefs.
I am challenging your time zone integrity in the Central time zone. I think in the Pacific time zone it actually makes sense. But here's a question too. Who decided that yawning was rude?
It can. You don't really have control over it. It's not like you're trying to yawn.
That's my point.
That's the thing.
But if Declan's yawning, it doesn't even bother me a little bit.
That's happened sometimes. End of a long day or something. I'm tired, and my wife is telling a story or something, and I will yawn. This doesn't happen very often, and she'll stop and say, "Am I boring you?
Am I boring you?"
It's like, no, you're not. I'm just tired. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's pros and cons of doing it. There was one quick story. There was at my sister's wedding. I don't know. I'm call him out here. The best man for my brother-in-law gave just one of the most boring speeches of all time.
Oh God, this is great.
And
didn't see this coming.
We were at I was at a family table, and our family friend across, he's like a dad to me, just openly just went, and
that's rude.
I can't help myself, and also a couple cocktails in. I just went, Pah! I laughed because I thought it was so funny. And then they both everyone's looking at us being like, and I was like, he yawned. He teed me up. He put the ball on the ground and gave me the driver. Don't blame me here. Oh, that was bad. That was a problem, point you probably shouldn't have won. But yes, it was. It was
Larry
a curb
David,
episode.
right there.
I played out in front of me. It was incredible.
Larry,
You laughed. He yawned.
It was a boring speech. What am I supposed to be applauding the whole speech?
You
You
inconsiderate
plopped.
moron.
You plopped. You plopped.
She plopped.
The yawning thing's perfect, though. What, you're so bored you can't hold it? It's pretty boring. It's a pretty boring speech.
It's a perfect curve episode, yes.
Declan, that's a great story. Well, and keep the speech